Chapter 340. Oh, Sean smiled awkwardly before he said, well, to be honest, I have to be very prudent when it comes to investing. First of all, I would have to look at the specific condition of the Richard Group, and I would have to determine if there is any value in investing in the company. After that, I would have to determine how much money I want to invest in the company and how long it would take before I can get my investment back. I can only decide whether to invest in the Richard Group after considering all of those options. Lady Richard knew the mess that the Richard Group was currently in. Moreover, based on their current situation, no one would possibly want to invest in the Richard Group at all. Why would they do so? It would be useless for them to invest tens of millions of dollars in the Richard Group. After all, if Diamond Group had chosen to blacklist the Richard Group, no one else would want to cooperate and work with the Richard Group anyway. Moreover, the Richard Group was involved in renovation and refurbishment works. This kind of business required other people's cooperation with them. If everyone refused to work with them, they would only be an idle company with nothing to do at all. Hence, based on the current situation, no one would invest in the Richard Group unless it was a fool who had no better place to spend their money. Lady Richard could tell that Sean was an extremely shrewd man, and he would never be willing to help them out unless he could get something in return. Thus, Lady Richard thought for a moment before she said, Chairman Richard, why don't we do this instead? Since you are already in Oris Hill and since we are family as my husband is also connected to your father, I feel that we should try to communicate more and try to get to know each other better. So, why don't you stay at the Richard family villa while you are here in Oris Hill? Sean thought for a moment before he replied, well, I am still an outsider after all. Wouldn't it be a little inconvenient for me to live in your house? After all, Miss Olivia would also be here. In fact, an old fox like Sean knew exactly what he was doing. Therefore, he had also thought everything through before he spoke. If he asked Lady Richard directly whether Olivia would also be living here, he would reveal his true intentions immediately. However, if he phrased his question to make it sound as though he did not want to be of an inconvenience to Olivia, he would be able to get an indirect answer from the old woman. If Lady Richard said that he did not need to worry because Olivia would not be staying here, it would be pointless for him to stay here, and he would decline her invitation immediately. However, if Lady Richard said that he would not need to worry since they were family and this would not cause any inconvenience to Olivia whatsoever, this would mean that Olivia was also staying here. And he would accept her offer immediately. In truth, Lady Richard knew of Sean's intentions. The reason why she had invited him to stay at their house for a few days was because she was planning to persuade Olivia and get her to look for an opportunity to get closer to Sean. If everything proceeded as planned, Sean would definitely be willing to invest in the Richard Group. Sean was the chairman of Tesway Group, and if he decided to invest in the Richard Group, it would not only solve their financial problems, but he would also act as a strong background for the Richard family. At that time, the Richard family would be able to return to their former glory. Lady Richard smiled before she said, Don't worry, Olivia is a very sensible girl. She will definitely welcome you to live in our house. Besides that, even though our villa might be a little old, it is still a standalone villa, and no outsiders will find out that you are living here. Sean relaxed immediately before he nodded and said, Then, I will accept your kind invitation. I also have some business that I have to deal with in Oris Hill over the next few days. I will take advantage of this opportunity to get to know you and your family better before I consider whether I want to invest in the Richard Group or not. Okay. Lady Richard smiled excitedly. That's great. I will get someone to clean up the guest room now. After that, Lady Richard lowered her voice before she said, Chairman Richard, to tell you the truth, Olivia's room is right across the guest room that you will be staying in. Please do not hesitate to look for her if you need anything. Sean was extremely excited when he heard this. Perfect. The old lady had really planned everything out for him. Even though he had plenty of money and no shortage of women around him, if he messed around outside, his wife would definitely find out about it. However, if he stayed at the Richard family villa, and if anything happened between him and Olivia, he did not need to worry about his wife finding out about them. After all, in her eyes, this was his own family, and he was only here because he wanted to fulfill his father's dying wish. Therefore, she would not have any doubts at all. This was the perfect choice for cheating.